Kelly Brouhaha released a self-titled album. Start that again. Kelly Brouhaha released a self-titled album in 2019, and she released an unplugged album last year. And there was a song on that called Poets, Troubadours Me, which she has now released as a single in a slightly different form. Kelly, lovely to talk to you.
Thank you for having me tonight.
I'm very happy to have you, having seen you play in Tamworth and seeing you hold a room raptured by your music, so enraptured, I should say. But you are on the road with Lynn Botel at the moment doing some shows.
I am. She just cooked me dinner.
Oh,
delicious.
Look, that's amazing. So how are the shows going?
They've been going great. It's been really nice to be on the road with Linny. I haven't toured with her before, and you can't beat her songwriting. So each night I'm just sitting there watching in awe, really. It's been great.
She's probably feeling the same about you, though.
That's nice.
Well, I think you're a very good double act to have. And as I said, you're on the road, but the road is somewhat of your natural habitat, or at least it was until the pandemic.
Yeah.
And one factoid I've always found interesting about you is that you have a Toyota Hiace called Pamela Vanderson. A 1992 Toyota Hiace. When did you and Pamela start traveling together?
Oh, I got her about, I want to say maybe 5 years ago. She hadn't done very many Ks yet. She's done a lot now, but she's still quite young. I know the body of her is, almost as old as I am, but, she's only done 200,000 Ks and runs like a dream. Can't beat her.
So given that you have done a lot of traveling, I'm always intrigued, people who drive a lot around Australia, like how many petrol stations are out there? If you're like on the Nullarbor plain, what do you do for petrol?
Oh, there's so many petrol stations on the Nullarbor. I always thought, until I went there, my dad had always said, you can't do that solo. And I went across with a big crew, with Aussie Road Crew, and there was petrol every 200 Ks, and powered sites on caravan parks. Like, it was actually very comfortable. So.
Which is completely at odds with what one thinks about the Nullarbor, of course, which is just a great stretch of nothing.
The other stretch of road that I get stuck on is between Melbourne and Gundagai. My car can't get all the way from Melbourne to Gundagai, and I always forget to fill up at Glenrowan, and that's the last 24-hour stop, and I've ran out of petrol twice on that highway now.
I have driven that stretch of road, and I often think there aren't as many petrol stations on the Hume Highway as there could be.
Yeah.
But look, we're digressing. You did mention the Aussie Road Crew, and now this is a Becky Cole initiative, from what I understand, and you've done quite a bit of touring with Becky. So when did you start doing that?
At the same time, I got Pamela, and then I got invited on Aussie Road Crew very soon after that. So it's gone hand in hand for me, and they're such a beautiful crew to tour with, and I'm a better person for touring with them, I reckon.
So it's almost like Becky heard you had this vehicle and thought, hey, she can come along.
Yes.
So your self-titled album, as I mentioned, was released in 2019, and it contains the track 40,000 Star Hotel, which is this beautiful track about the stars that you see when you're on the road, the night sky scene from places outside of cities. But I'm wondering, not to be too metaphorical about it, but do you have a favorite room in that 40,000 Star Hotel? I think a favorite part of it.
That's a great, I do, because I co-wrote this song with Elise Simmons at the DAG sheep station at the songwriting retreat there, and I think that is my favorite room in the hotel. Is anywhere, the DAG is this place where you're surrounded by beautiful people, a lot of music, and there's no Wi-Fi and there's no reception.
Right.
So there's no phones, and it's like church to me. I love it. I love it.
How many times have you done that?
I've been twice, and I'll be back this year as well. So,
because I'm about to say it's probably been on hold for a little bit, but
I think so. Yeah.
But so many great songs. So many great songs have come out of it. Sorry, I'm talking over the top of you, Kelly.
No, you're fine.
So please repeat what you said.
It's been hard for everyone, but they're up and running and trying again, and that's all we can do really at the moment is keep pushing.
Absolutely.
Hope it gets better.
Absolutely. And you have had a commitment to a musical life for a while, but I'm wondering when your musical life started.
Oh, well, I grew up in regional South Australia. We moved around a lot as kids, and when we came back to Adelaide, it was for high school, and I didn't have any friends, so I made friends with the guitar, and I've played ever since. But after high school, I studied music at TAFE and I did my diploma, and I've been playing since. Like, I've always wanted to just, my goal's been to, be happy. And number two is to get away with making music forever in any format. So, I feel like I live my dream every day.
I have to say, they are wonderful goals to have. But in studying music formally, did you ever worry that perhaps it would take you away from your instincts as a musician, that you would have developed quite a bit by that stage?
No, I don't think so. I think, if anything, it added to my toolbox, and that made me a better writer because I can do more with my hands and my voice. And,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And have you considered doing like further studies or any kind of online courses or songwriting courses or things like that? Not that you need them, but
I do wonder about, I never got the degree. I always wondered about that, but then I go, if I was going to spend all this money on a degree and spend all this time studying, I could actually just play guitar a bit more, practice a little bit more, and that'd be fun. I'd be much better than I am if I put the time in. So I always go, no, I'm just going to practice more, and then I, put it in the diary and don't quite commit.
Well, playing live is a form of practice, and so is sound check.
That's right.
So how many guitars do you travel with, or are you just a one guitar woman?
I was a one guitar woman until about a month ago, and then I impulse bought an electric guitar, and
All right.
it was probably poor life decision at that point, but I got it and it's sounding great. I've been playing it on this tour with Linny and Just Love, and it's very loud, and it's kind of strange for me to be playing something so loud, so still getting my head around it.
Given that it was an impulse buy, was it just that particular guitar that took your fancy?
No, I was just, when you're in one of those moods and things aren't going so well, so you just start impulse buying everything and impulse eating everything and watching lots and lots of TV on DVD and things like that. Lots of Netflix. And it's just in one of those modes where I'm like, I'm just gonna, hit the button and just
Good.
mess everything up.
Well, look, that's a purposeful impulse purchase. That's a contribution to culture.
I chose well, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
If it's in musical instruments, it's always redeemable in my
and possibly tax deductible. But that's a different thing.
But a very expensive hobby.
That's right. But it does take a real commitment to the road and to perform for people the way you have over the past few years. So I'm sure there are challenging parts about it, but what's the best thing about it?
Do you know, I don't feel like it's a commitment at all. I feel the opposite. When we got pulled off the road with the pandemic, it was the worst thing I could have ever imagined. I'm such a gig pig. I would gladly be on the road full time always if I could manage. If my body was able to just not stop moving, I would just keep going.
Yeah. Have you been like
come home to rest?
Have you been like that since childhood? Were you a child who was always on the go?
Yeah, I think because we moved around so much as kids, I think it's my safe place now. And to stay still feels really foreign. And, all my friends all live all over the country. So to stay in one place too long, I just feel like I'm missing everybody. It's like the opposite to someone who's lived in the same place their whole life.
Yeah, and it is unusual, particularly I think, to be frank, for women to do it because there are concerns about safety on the road. We have that whole Jack Kerouac on the road paradigm to in the culture, but I often say that's a fantasy story on the road because men can do it, but it is quite hard for women to do it and do it safely. So I think there's. Even though it sounds like for you it's almost inevitable to be on the road, I think there is a bit of courage involved.
I guess so. I mean, I've always felt really safe. I feel like we live in the safest country. We're so lucky here. And I often, I roll up to a free camp and I find just another couple, a grey nomad or someone, and go and just knock on the door and say hello so they know they don't need to worry about me more so than anything. And I get a quick squiz at them, and usually it's a nice little old lady and her husband and their cute chihuahuas or something. And then I feel fine, and I know they're there. And for me it's more like what happens if my tire blows up in the middle of the night. I'm never worried that someone's going to knock on the door and cause trouble. It's always car trouble, or I'm bogged somewhere and I don't have a shovel to get out or something ridiculous.
Well, that is a problem, particularly with the sorts of weather we've been having. Well, unpredictable weather. Have you learnt to change tires? Are you?
Oh God, no! I've got premium RAA, darling.
Well, that makes sense. I think it's always a good idea to call in the professionals.
There's no way. Even if I could get the nuts off the tires. No way I could lift it. Like I'm weakest, you know.
But also, yes, it's a high ace, so I would imagine that yes,
That's
you
right.
do. Yeah.
You never have to wait too long to get help in your car. So
Well, that's good. But I also am thinking you must have met so many different interesting people just by going up and knocking on doors and saying hello.
So many. You know what I love the most is, you know, I meet a lot of people who are in their retirement and they're doing their big lap of Australia, and their stories are just fantastic, like their life story, what they've done with their life, why they're touring now, why they're I love it. I love it. There's so much so many different kinds of people that you meet doing the same thing, you know.
Yeah. Do you find that you take some songwriting inspiration from some of those stories?
I do. Yeah, absolutely. And often it's, you know, it's a vibe of a person, you know. Often, you know, I meet a lot of people that remind me of a family member or something, and there's always a nice connection there when, you know, I might meet a lady that looks just like my nana did, or, you know, smells just like my, you know, uncle. I don't know. It's constant. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned being pulled off the road during the pandemic, how that was a very difficult time, and your new single "Poets, Troubadours and Me" arose out of that time. And it is a really poignant song, and there is a sense of bittersweetness about it. I'm wondering what the initial spark for the song was.
Do you know, it was that thing of there was such huge fires over New Year's that year. And then we all, like, I don't think I worked the first 2 months. We did all these charity concerts, and then we just got back on the road, back to doing what we do, and then we got pulled off again. And, you know, it was just so jarring to then go, oh, what do you mean there's no help for us? We just did all this, you know. Musos are always the first to jump in and give a hand, and now they won't even give us Centrelink. This is ridiculous. So we haven't chosen to go off the road. And you know, eventually all those rules changed. So we got really very fortunate in the end there, but it was a very scary time to begin with. I remember lining up at Centrelink for something like 7 hours. And, you know, ABC trying to ask you for an interview, and you're like, I have never stood in this line in my whole life. I feel so ashamed to not have a job right now. This is ridiculous. And it really hurt. You know, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know where to live because I was living in my car, and I didn't know what to do with myself. Like, how do you reskill? Like, even just trying to write your resume, it's like, well, it's just gig to gig to gig, you know. My skills are, I know 400 songs.
Yeah. Which is a phenomenal skill.
Well, you know, how does that trust, you know, and then you get that whole, how do you retrain, and why should I have to? And it was tough.
I think part of what's interesting to me about the premise of the song in the title, because you say poets, troubadours, and me, which implies that you don't think of yourself as a poet or a troubadour, but I would say arguably you are both.
I think for me, I always think of myself as a storyteller more so, but poets, troubadours, and storytellers doesn't have the same ring to it.
True, the rhythm of the title you've chosen is fine, but yeah, I think the life you're living, being on the road, there is a bit of the troubadour about it, at least.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, I think all those words, I think we're all the same person, really. Anyone that does poetry or is a troubadour or a singer-songwriter or a storyteller or a comedian or a even actors to a point, you know, we're all doing the same thing. We're just trying to process life and then perform it. So other people can get the message, I guess, you know. Yeah.
Now the single you have released, the version you've released of the song as a single is not the same that's on Unplugged.
No.
This one was recorded with Jules Parker from Hussey Hicks, and so I'm wondering if you've worked with Jules before.
I've worked on I've worked live with Jules a lot, but never in the studio. This was we decided to do a record together, and we started this song. She just texted me today saying, you know, that's the only song that we recorded in our studio before everything flooded, and the only one that actually got finished and across the line and released. So you know, their studio was in Lismore, and they were so affected by the flooding. It was just, you know, traumatic and awful. And I'm so proud of this song because, you know, when you work with Jules, you get into the studio, and, you know, I've been in studios before, and often, you know, the producer says, how do you want things to sound? And then we'll go and play these and we'll make this. Whereas she just puts everything, all the mics on you and all the guitars in your hands and says, do your thing. And you're sitting there going, no, you do the guitar one. You're an amazing guitarist. And she always turns around and goes, no, this is your song. You're going to play the guitar. And she's done that with a lot of artists. And there's something really special about having that space to, and she puts confidence into you. She kind of pulls you up with it. And it's a beautiful trait. But also, it's not just Jules, it's also Lisa who's there. And she's such a huge support in the studio. And her multi-instrumental talent, everything you hear on the record that's not me is almost all Lisa. Like, she's got the shakers going and the backing vocals, and she's just such a comfort to have around as well. And them as a duo while you're creating music is probably one of my favorite things in the whole world to do, is hang out with them and make music. So very privileged and very lucky to have managed to steal some of their time.
And if my memory serves me correctly, Jules produced Lioness for Becky. And I remember interviewing Becky about that album, just in terms of you talking about playing the guitar, and she said it was the first of her albums that she played guitar on. And I said I was so surprised about that, because I always think of her with a guitar in her hand.
Such an incredible guitarist, right?
Yeah, but she had said in every previous album she'd been told, no, we'll get someone who can really play guitar, or words to that effect, which was Godsmack. But obviously, Jules, as you said, gives people confidence in what they're doing.
Yeah, she believes in people, really strongly, and it rubs off on you. I think she's a great human to have in your corner, for sure.
And as I said, there was a version of this song on Unplugged. Did you ever consider releasing that as the single?
I think I knew, like, Unplugged for me was a project. It was an in-between project. I've got these few songs that are very prominent about the time. And I just want to showcase my work live that I do from previous albums. So, that project was a handful of songs from my first EP and a handful of songs from the album, and then 3 new songs about camping, essentially. And it was just something to do when we had nothing to do, kind of thing. So I always wanted this song to be a radio single, and I knew I wanted to produce it. So I'm but also, now I didn't think it would take that long either. So now I'm eager to move on. I feel like I've done this song to death, but it's only just been released, really. So a couple more years of it yet, maybe.
Well, and because also for me, the track on Unplugged, well, there were a lot of lovely tracks on it, but I really swooned over Campfires, and so I'm wondering if you're planning to re-record that.
Do you know, that song is such a I don't think we will, because I don't think you can add anything to that song that's not already there. It's a story, and it's a vocal piece, and I feel like it's a song that you would sing around the campfire, just vocal and a guitar. So but who knows?
No, I agree. Look, it is lovely just as it is. So I'm not suggesting you need to do another version.
No, I did consider it for a long time, but we've only got 3 songs into this new album because of the floods, we got stopped. So we decided to release a bunch of standalone singles, and then the new album will start fresh once the girls are back from overseas and go again. And I don't know that Poets will be on that album. It might be a bonus track maybe, but at this point, just a standalone single.
Fantastic. So for you as a singer, because you are such a powerful singer, and that's evident on the recordings, but also anyone who sees you play live. So when did you develop your vocal identity, I guess? Did you start singing as a young kid, mimicking other singers, and then
Yeah. I mean, I guess I've always sang in high school. I did a lot of choir work. But I went to a performing arts high school, and I did jazz band and choir and guitar and all kinds of things. And they wouldn't let me have a singing lesson on my own because I already did so many other things. So it wasn't until I got to TAFE that I started learning how to sing really at all. And I loved it. And, we covered blues and jazz and gospel and lots of different roots kind of genres. And I think that's where I learned a lot of things,
Yeah, well, there's certainly technique in your voice, but there's a huge amount of feeling. So obviously you were able to take everything you've learned and then just put it together in a way that's uniquely you.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So TAFE did a good job for you, Kelly. There you go.
I think TAFE did a good job. Yeah. I had a great my mentor was good at music, really great musician. So I learned a lot there.
Yeah. So given that you have quite a peripatetic life, when do you fit in writing?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I've just finished. I was just doing a project called Song Club with Sam Hawksley in Nashville, when we had a prompt every week to write to it. I got too busy, so I had to bail on that. But I think I write when I feel it. I kind of write as a therapy almost. So, I think for me, it's just carving out enough time to get enough downtime to actually pick it up and, to pick up a guitar instead of the laptop.
Yeah.
If I can carve that time out, we're fine. It always comes, but it's just the getting away from the spreadsheets and the advertising and the publicity and the marketing and the emails and blah, 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 blah.
All the things that are involved in being a self-managed artist.
Yeah,
and it is a lot of admin, which is not evident when you're getting up on stage and you deliver the performance, but there is a lot that goes into that.
But, also making time to go to somewhere like the DAG once a year and, you get there, you relax immediately, you're fed every meal for 5 days and you just turn the tap on and here's 8 new songs. Yeah. You're there, when you're in a space like that, it's easy. So easy. It's
a very efficient use of your time by the sound of it.
Oh, it's just testament to the magic that they create in that space, you that wouldn't happen if they didn't look after us the way they did.
Yeah, right. So as I said at the start, you're on the road with Limbo Tell at the moment. What's coming next? Do you have some festivals lined up and other shows?
Yeah, we're playing. We're doing Blue Mountains Music Festival in Invern Roots in October, and I'm taking the band. So I've got a rhythm section who are their own band in their own right called Great Aunt, and Gabby Louise on fiddle, who's an amazing fiddle player. Couple of festivals, and then we've got a run through Adelaide and Galway in November. Mm-hmm. We've got some camping stuff with Becky coming up for her 50th birthday, which I'm really pumped for, and then who knows after that.
So do you I mean, you mentioned the admin side of things, but I'm imagining you are really good at managing your calendar. Like you've just rigorously organized so you can make sure you're in the right place at the right time.
Oh, do you know what happens is I end up just, every time I do it too, I end up doing stupid drives like Nimbin to Adelaide in 2 days because I said yes to a thing that I probably should have said no to, but I really wanted to do it. And I go, I can make that work. I could do that.
That is a big drive.
That I was, over here 2 days ago. And, we were in Bendigo yesterday. I'm in Adelaide today. And...
Yeah, right. But it seems, partly also listening to you talk about that admin side, you have on the one hand a great commitment to art. Like you have this life where you are immersed in making music, live writing, working with other musicians. It's actually a really inspiring, motivating thing, I think, to talk to you about it, because just to know that you live your life like that. But on the other hand, the admin facilitates the art, if that makes sense.
Totally. Do you know the other thing is I can't not do it. I think that's why I do it, is because I've tried to quit. It's very hard to be a musician full time. The money doesn't flow all the time and it gets hard, but I can't stop. There's an obsession within me that's just, it's too strong. So I give into it and I just keep going. I'm very lucky though, like I don't only do my own thing. I also, I play guitar for Liddy and I play with Beck and I do other projects here and there, and sometimes they're admin projects for other bands and sometimes it's a music project, and but it's very varied, so I never get bored because it's always on to the next thing and on to the next thing.
Well, I think we are the beneficiaries of your commitment to art, and so I thank you for that. And hopefully people can keep track of your social media to see where you are playing next. And in the meantime, I'll look forward to the next songs you release and hopefully seeing you live. And Kelly Brouhaha, thank you so much for talking to me.
Oh, thank you much. So I feel like we need to thank you guys for doing what you do. Like, we can't get our music out without your help, and it's such a huge service that you're doing for us. So thank you for doing what you do. I feel like we need to flick the camera around now and I can interview you.
Well, I only do it because I want to do it, because this is a hobby for me. It's not my job. So I see it as a privilege to be able to have access to great music and great musicians and only cover what I like. So,
yeah, that's true. I like that.
So I guess love your music. Thank you. And I'll see you down the road.
Oh, thanks, so.